From 1945 until 1991, the Eastern Bloc, dominated by the Soviet Union, and the West, headed by the United States, are at daggers drawn. Between the West, the democracies that rallied around the United States, and the East, communist nations dominated by Russia, known as the Soviet Union.
July 17, 1945. After the World War II ended in 1945, the Cold War started. Even the United States and the Soviet Union were allies during the war. They were very different in the way they taught and ruled their countries. The US believed in the democracy and capitalism, where the people could vote and own business freely. On the other hand, the Soviet Union believed in communism, where the government had control over everything, including the economy and the people's lives. After the war, the Soviet Union started taking control of countries in Eastern Europe, like Poland, Hungary, and Eastern Germany. They set up communist governments there. This worried the United States and its Western allies because they didn't want communism to spread. In 1947, the US made a promise called the Truman Doctrine. It said that America would help any country fighting against communism. They did the Third Marshall Plan, giving money to rebuild the Europe after the war, mainly the countries in Western Europe. The Soviet Union saw this as a threat, thinking the US was trying to gain more influence. One big conflict happened in Berlin. After the war, Germans spread into the East and West. Berlin, the capital of the city, was also divided. In 1948, the Soviet Union blocked all roads and railways going to the West Berlin. In the response of the US and its allies started to banish airlift, flying food and supplies to keep the city going. This showed that both sides were willing to stand firm. Soon, the both sides formed military groups. The US and its allies created NATO in 1949. While the Soviet Union and their allies later made the Battle of Warsaw. The war became divided into two sides, the Western Bloc and the Eastern Bloc. Even the two they never fought each other directly. The US and the Soviet Union competed in the many ways, in the weapon, space, even the sport. They also support different sides in the wars around the world, like in Korea and Vietnam. So, the Cold War was a war with fighting between the two main superpowers, but it was full of fierce fighting and some competition. It lasted for many years, but it all started because of the deep difference in beliefs, power, structures, and the lack of the between the US and the Soviet Unions. In the end, the Cold War changed the world, shaped politics, technology, and international relations. For the decades, understand how it began helps understand many peace, communication, and trust between nations are so important today.
The Cold War came to an end with the fall of the Berlin Wall in 1989. which triggered the collapse in the communist regime across Eastern Europe. In a short period, countries such as Poland, Czechoslovakia, and Romania transitioned toward a democratic system. Germany was also reunited in 1990 after being divided for more than 4 decades. The climax came in 1991 with the official dissolution of the Soviet Union and the Warsaw Pact. The various crises over 4 decades ultimately led to major changes in Europe, paving the way for a new political order that was more open and democratic.
Crisis after crisis continued to emerge in Europe, such as the Hungarian Uprising in 1956, the Prague Spring in 1968, and the Berlin Crisis, which culminated in the construction of the Berlin Wall in 1961. The wall was not merely a physical barrier, but a powerful symbol of global ideological division. Amid this conflict, resistance movements against communist rule began to strengthen, one of which was the Solidarity movement in Poland, demanding social justice and democracy. Meanwhile, economic and social crises in Eastern Bloc increasingly weakened Soviet influence.